Welcome to the orientation to the DACUM process for the Mechatronics and Manufacturing Technician DACUM. DACUM is an acronym for developing a curriculum. It answers the question, what do you do? And is the basis for a competency-based curriculum. As you can see in the picture, there are cards going both vertically and horizontally. That is a storyboard for the job, which is similar to what we'll be creating. DACUM creates a graphic representation of a job or occupational field, its major duties and tasks, and their relationships. We will start with the whole job, then divide it into its major job duties, and then divide each of those duties into their associated tasks. Some of the key terms are duties, which is a cluster of related tasks, or a bucket where all those tasks could be put. The tasks are specific, meaningful units of work. And then each task has to consist of at least 2 or more steps. Here's an example. If you're a homeowner, one of your major job duties is to maintain your yard. One task is to mow the front and the back lawn. One step would be to start the mower. In the job of an automobile owner, one of the major duties would be to maintain the automobile. The task would be to change the motor oil, and one step would be to drain the oil. We will be developing duty and task statements in a particular form. First, we will begin with a verb. It is implied that each statement begins with the words, "The worker must be able to," and then we will be writing the verb beginning. It must precisely describe the worker's action. Some examples could be to select, to prepare, to develop, or to determine. Each of those task or duty statements will also contain an object, which is what is acted upon by the worker. For example, the worker might select equipment, prepare reports, develop plans, determine needs. Each duty and task statement also usually includes a qualifier, which are words or phrases used to modify and clarify the task statement. So you might say, select computer equipment, prepare financial reports, develop learning plans, determine client needs. The duties describe large areas of work in performance terms. They serve as a title for many related tasks. They consist of one verb, an object, and usually a qualifier, and they're general. Duties are more general than the specific tasks. They must be able to stand alone and avoid references to worker behaviors, tools, and knowledge needed. The task criteria is a little bit different. A task represents the smallest unit of job activity with a meaningful outcome. What that means is it must result in a product, a service, or a decision. It represents an assignable unit of work. It's something that someone might assign you to do. Has a beginning and ending. Can be performed over a relatively short period of time. This might be minutes, hours, or even a couple of days. It's very important that our tasks can be observed and measured. I can't measure or observe what's going on in a worker's head, but I can observe and measure what they're doing. And it needs to be able to be performed independent of other tasks. So on a major job duty, there might be several tasks. I might do one task, you might do another. And each task must consist of 2 or more steps. In our task statement development, we're going to concisely describe a task in performance terms. Each task statement must have a single action verb, an object, and probably a relevant qualifier. Needs to be explicitly stated once. Each task must be meaningful by themselves and not dependent upon the duty or tasks. Another thing that we're going to be trying to get are the enablers. These are essential items that enable workers to perform their duties and tasks, but are not duties or tasks themselves. This would include knowledge and skill sets that people in this field need to have. It will also list the tools, equipment, supplies, and materials that a worker would be using, and also what are the important attitudes and behaviors of a worker in this field. What we'll be creating will be a job analysis, like the one that you see behind the people in this picture. The green cards are representing the major job duties, and the white cards to the side are representing the tasks that are associated with each of those duties. Since we have to do this virtually because of the pandemic, we will not be able to create that wall of job duties and tasks. We'll be doing it online, but you will be able to watch the creation of the chart as we are creating it. After we finish, it will look something like this. This one happens to be for school business officer. And you can see that the duties are in the gray along the vertical, and then to the horizontal, you can see that in the white boxes, those are the tasks that are associated with each of those duties. Our challenges, again, we're not able to use the room and use the big wall and make it right there in front of us, make the chart as we're going, but we will do it virtually. And I'm sure that as long as our technology works, we will have a successful workshop. The procedural steps include completing this orientation. Then we will begin a review of the job, the whole job or occupation, the hierarchy, the initial brainstorming. Then we will begin to identify the general areas of responsibility, the major duties, and then we will break down each of those duties into its associated tasks. We'll develop those lists of enablers and also talk about future trends and concerns. Review and refine the task and duty statements, finalize the sequence, and list any of your program design recommendations. Please watch this video to show you a little bit more of what we'll be creating. Here's an example of a DACUM research chart that we did last year for the school business officers. You'll notice that it has all of the panelists' names, and then here is the chart itself. On the left-hand side, we will list all of the major duties. On this chart, it goes from A through H. So there were 8 major duties that the panelists identified. The first major duty here is participate in organization's leadership. You'll see that the second one is to develop the organization's budget, and the third one is to manage the organization's budget. You'll notice that each of these duty statements begin with a verb, an action verb, and end in an object upon which the worker acts. The tasks then delineate what the duties represent. So, for example, in participate in organization's leadership, one of the tasks is to participate in strategic plans. Another is to present funding sources. Another is to discuss the current organizational position, etc. So for each of those eight major duties, we have delineated several tasks that the worker would be performing. Now, once we have completed all of this work into this chart, then I will be sending you a survey, and you will perhaps be telling us how often you engage in that task. For this chart, we did ask them how often they perform those tasks, and you will see that about 70% of the respondents said that they participated in strategic plans about once a year, whereas 80% said that they participated in presenting funding sources about once a month. And you can see how that goes there. So as we are putting together this curriculum, we can look at this and see how to organize and how to teach that kind of practice. Let's go back to our chart. The other thing that we will be making besides this chart is we will be making lists of the general knowledge and skills necessary to complete this job. So it may be different things like different kinds of rules, policies, procedures. It may be different kinds of software that's necessary for them to understand. There also is usually a specific skill set that this job would require, as like the ability to change perspectives or to be detail oriented. Another one that we will be capturing is the behaviors that this position would require, like being confident, being organized, being able to accept shortcomings, things like that you will identify. Acronyms will also be defined. The other thing we'll be asking you for is your recommendations. What should we include? What should we make sure that we include in this curriculum development? What do you wish had been covered in your education and training? So we will be creating this with your information over the next couple of days.